Welcome back to the Ultraviolet Tide. Thank you so much for joining us for another week of the podcast. And today we are sitting down with a very exciting guest joining us for the first time. And that guest is Dawn Hunt, the President of OnSpot Dermatology. Dawn, welcome to the podcast.
All right. Thank you for having me. Excited to talk to you all today.
We're excited as well. This was something that really started on social media. So it's another connection that came through Instagram and just continuing to support other businesses with similar missions. So I did want to, dive and give a little bit of background before we really dive in about what OnSpot is and the work that you all do. So OnSpot is a full service mobile dermatology practice that offers its services to residents of communities and employees of companies throughout Florida. And they do this through a fleet of mobile medical vehicles, as well as a full medical team, which we were talking a little bit before we started recording this. I love new innovative ways to get people the healthcare that they need. And you guys are really doing that with OnSpot, Dawn. And I'd love to dive a little bit more into behind the scenes of how the company was founded and your mission and your personal tie to the company as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a Boston guy. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts. Grew up there, lived there my whole life. Now based in Florida, but OnSpot was, as we always say, a practice that was born out of COVID. OnSpot would have never happened if it wasn't for the pandemic, where I am very close friends with our now current medical director. His name's Dr. Alan Harrington. And he brought up this problem during COVID that a lot of people were not going to get their annual dermatology skin exam because they didn't want to expose themselves to a doctor's office, right? They didn't want to wait in a waiting room. They didn't want to go to an elevator, a lobby, an exam room, and they were skipping out on their annual appointments. And myself and Dr. Harrington saw this as a huge problem. And how could we bring a practice directly to the patient in a COVID-safe environment? So we started exploring and looking at different, there's a lot of actually mobile truck manufacturers out there that build healthcare trucks. And there's about 7 of them across the US. And we went to a lot of them, see their plants and see what they offered. And we went with Lifeline Mobile. And we currently have 7 trucks that go directly to patients. They have anywhere from 2 to 4 exam rooms. And our goal is to make it very easy for patients to get an annual skin exam. And it was interesting. We actually were trying to focus on what we saw OnSpot helping people is we wanted to go after patients that were skipping out on their annual exam, but also go into employers where it's difficult for people to take a half a day off from work or even a full day off from work to get their annual skin exam. And the problem with Boston was a lot of people across the country, but we're working from home. And when we were reaching out to offices, they said, hey, this is great, but no one's in the office right now.
Right.
So this really wouldn't work. And I actually, my background is sales. And I reached out to Dr. Harrington to try to build on this and say, hey, why don't you build the medical practice? I'll help with building relationships with companies and selling this offering. And I actually flew down to Florida, and I was down there for a week knocking on doors of different communities and employers. And in 5 days, I met with, I think the number was 26 organizations, and I booked 40 days.
Wow.
And the company at the time was called OnSpot On-Site Skin Exam. We wanted to choose a very literal name and just to see if there was interest in starting a business in Florida. And, I can be the best salesman in the world, but there's no way I can close 100% without it being a good idea as well. Yeah. And we really felt like this was an amazing idea. Organizations in Florida felt the same way, and we went full force on providing this service to organizations around Florida. So we have, in our first year, we saw 12,000 patients.
Wow.
And this year we're on track to see 50,000.
So
And
crazy.
that's just 2 years of a new practice. And
Mhm.
we're so proud of that, and, happy to help so many people. And we go after a very different type of patient, a patient that doesn't have a relationship with the dermatology practice.
Right.
Um, our data has shown that 86% of people will not get an annual skin exam anytime in their lifetime. And it's
Mhm.
because wait times associated with dermatology are very, very long. Um, Doctors work 8 to 5, and so do most individuals. And normally when you have a spot on your arm or a spot on your body, it's not like you're in pain, and it's an easy sort of thing to push aside and say, that it's, and we get a lot of that where patients say, hey, I have this spot on my arm. We had someone this week who had a spot on their face, and it's been
Mhm.
there for a year. And because we were right there in their community, they got checked out. They actually got forced on the vehicle from their wife, which was kind of funny. And it actually ended up being melanoma, and something
Wow.
we referred to Orlando Health, and probably saved the gentleman's life, and by him
Yeah.
getting a 15-minute exam. So
Yeah, for sure. And you guys are solving so many of these problems that we see on a day-to-day basis. I mean, Snigdha and I are based in the Northern Virginia area where the average
yes.
wait time to get into a dermatologist or a doctor is 6+ months. It
Hmm.
is so hard to get healthcare. And if you don't have someone that you're already preferred to go see, it is really, really hard to get in to see any kind of healthcare without some kind of wait. And it is something which you totally mentioned that people are seeing these spots and thinking, oh, well, I can't get in to see anyone about it. It's not that big of a deal. And it gets kind of cast aside because there is a huge issue with accessibility. Um, like you mentioned as well, like companies having to take time off work. That's a barrier for entry as well.
Yeah, we had someone who they had a spot on the back of their leg, and as they said it, they have kids where they don't want to take time away from their kids. They don't want to take time away from work. Um, they had this spot on the back of their leg for 5 years, and because we were right there, right in the place they worked, we were able to see them and find something that probably saved their life on getting it removed. So um, it's really, we're definitely, it's very rewarding with us. We're going, a lot of dermatology practices see us as a competitor, but we're really going after a very different patient than what people typically, the relationship a typical patient has with a brick and mortar. These are patients that just, they have a hard time booking an appointment and seeing a mobile dermatology or seeing a dermatology practice. So it's made for some rewarding stories.
Yeah, and I think you definitely saw a need. I mean, when I was looking at you all's website and before I was even really introduced to you, I was thinking, wow, this company would operate so well in COVID times. So it's funny
Yes.
that it actually came out of that because that was my thought process was, yeah, you're right. People didn't want to go to doctors' offices. They didn't want to leave their house. They were, and this really
Hmm.
prompted a new wave of technology across the board. And these mobile clinics are one of those innovations.
Hmm. Absolutely. And what we did is we actually put UV lights into our HVAC system, which is what a lot, it's not really anything new, but we did that with Lifeline Mobile, where UV lights kill airborne viruses, and when our AC unit was running, it's making for a clean environment. And because our environment's so small, we're actually able to rotate the the air, it's 6 to 9 times in an hour, as opposed to a hospital with, when they're dealing with a much bigger space, it's closer to um, uh, I don't know that right off the top of my head, but they're not able to clean the air, if you will, as quickly as our small environment is.
Yeah, and that's a huge differentiator as well. And, the hospitals were also overrun and doctors
Mhm.
were, dealing with COVID patients and people dying. And I mean, there was a lot
Yes.
going on during that time. So to provide a solution that allows people to still get the healthcare they need is really important. And Snigdha, I'm listening to this. I'm like, man, come up to Northern Virginia. We need you guys up here.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, because my most recent skin check, just to add another anecdote to kind of back this up, my most recent dermatology appointment, which also included a skin check, was scheduled for 10:30. I didn't get into the office, into the exam room until 11:15.
Yeah.
I was just sitting there in the waiting room, and I was like, I took time off work for this. Like, where's the urgency, you know?
Yeah.
But mhm.
Absolutely. It's something that we're really big on is wait times and making sure that our schedule is as planned out as possible, especially when we go to employers, because people are taking time off from work. And our tagline right on our website is 15 minutes could save your life. And we're really trying to make it so that it is a 15-minute exam, which is a typical dermatology visit. We want to make sure that it's as thorough as possible, but time is so important where people are taking time off from work. And our model will never work if people are also waiting 45 minutes, an hour to be seen, because a lot of people just can't take that much time off from work. So um,
Yeah,
our
definitely.
value is time and convenience, and
Mhm.
making it easy to get very important checks each year.
Yeah, and I think I read a testimonial on your website that someone said they went because they were able to walk to it. And that right there
Yes.
is the convenience. They said, I didn't have to get in the car and drive. I could walk
Hmm.
to my skin check. I could walk to my, you guys also have cosmetic procedures and a whole list of
Hmm.
services you offer. But that right there is case in point. What you guys offer is just the accessibility that someone can just walk to it. It's easy.
Absolutely. It's really funny. We worked with this community down in Fort Myers, and they said, "Hey, I think this is a great idea, but we have a dermatology practice, a few blocks away that a lot of residents go to. I just don't see this working." And we convinced her to give it a try. And sure enough, I mean, we're slam packed with appointments every time we go, because people would rather drive a golf cart, walk directly to their visit. And again, there are so many, even though there's a lot of places, a lot of people seeing that practice down the road, there's a lot of patients still that are not getting checked. And the wait times with that practice are incredibly long. So it's amazing to see that we're still able to help a lot of people.
It also takes a little bit of the scariness out of it. I know we've talked to a lot of people before that haven't gotten skin checks before, and they're
Yeah,
fearful of what it entails. And then you
that's
sit in
right.
a clinical office and it smells weird and you feel weird and it feels too formal. So you're taking away kind of that aspect of it as well.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's a scary appointment. We get a lot of patients walking in that they know this spot on their body is they know it's been there for a long time. And we do, that's another thing that we train our staff, is that this is a scary appointment for a lot of people, and it's
Mhm.
our job to make them feel as comfortable as possible, and educate them too on just skin cancer is very treatable. When we call patients and give them their diagnosis, it should be seen in a lot of ways as a positive phone call, where we are so lucky that we found this so early. Skin cancer is 99.9% or 99% treatable when detected early, according to the Skin Cancer Foundation. So when detected early is so important, and when we're able to detect it, we can treat the patient. So um, it can be a scary appointment. Absolutely.
On the team side of things, I mean, I know I read on your website that you guys had your Series A or announced your Series A in October of 2021. How has this
Yes.
really helped to expand the business? Have you been able to grow team, grow the areas that you go to across the board?
Yeah, our growth is all about uh, adding more mobile clinics to our model and servicing more communities in Florida. And it's funny you bringing up Virginia, because we do get requests all the time asking, can we go to this area, this state? And right now our focus is on Florida, but we do want to go to some underserved areas as well outside in different areas of the country. I actually talked to someone the other day that we always talk about derm deserts, and New Mexico, Albuquerque, New Mexico is one of the most has a serious problem when it comes to being a derm desert. Just not enough derm practices, and the wait times are really long. But so we talk about that a lot. But with Premier Capital, our a VC firm invested on us and helped us with our Series A funding to help us with our expansion, where we started with 2 clinics and brought it to 7 because of their investment in OnSpot, and saw that this is something that, that there was a business here, and more importantly, it was helping a lot of people, which I think the principal that we work with at Premier Capital, that's what got him involved. Is he just saw when we showed him the stats, 250. We have found 250 plus melanomas, 4,500 skin cancers, and that was just it's amazing because, again, it's patients that normally would not have gotten checked. The majority of our patients are those that they call in saying, what am I supposed to wear? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to say during my visit? Should I get a spot check? Should I get a full body exam? I haven't gotten this before. And so it's made it very rewarding just to have the people we're able to help that wouldn't necessarily get checked.
Yeah, and I'm sure looking at those numbers as well, like you mentioned before, you're going to a place that has dermatology practices. You're going to a place that on paper looks like it has resources and accessibility, and you're seeing these kinds of numbers. Now imagine if you go to a place that you consider a dermatology desert that you mentioned before, the impact there would be, astronomical.
Oh my God, absolutely. We go to an area outside of the villages. Are you familiar with the villages? A large community. I don't even know if you want to call it a community. It's more of a city in Florida. They have 70,000 residents in. It's really these gated communities, and it's in Central Florida. And we get that question a lot. Is the villages a place that you go to? And there's a ton of dermatology practices surrounding the villages because it's a older retirement community with 70,000 people that need skin checks. And what's amazing is we go to a place right outside the villages. It's an area called Leesburg, and despite all those dermatology practices right around the villages, and like you're saying, all the dermatology practices in Florida, there's still so many people that we're seeing in the villages calling us saying, hey, wait times at these brick and mortars around the area, it's 2, 3, 4, 5 months. Can you help me get seen? And again, skin cancer is 99% treatable when detected early. So getting in as quickly as possible is so important. So there is, a lot of people and not enough derm practices down here.
Yeah, for sure. And that's an issue around the US as a whole. So if someone is based in Florida and they're listening to this and they're like, oh my gosh, I want to make an appointment, how does that process kind of work?
Yeah, so there's 2 ways that people can book an appointment, either by calling us on our phone number. It's 941-444-0011. It's right on our website, and they can book an appointment. Our phone team is trained where, we're kind of a moving target, and people, we're in a different location each day. So one of the questions that our phone team asks is, where are you located? And we try to make an appointment at the nearest location that they're located at. Or they can book online and see the locations that we're at. We provide the full list of everywhere we go to, and people can book an appointment on our website as well.
For the communities that you guys go to, is that based off of interest, or is that based off of if there's a country club in that area that wants to bring it to their community? How kind of does that work from a business standpoint as well?
Yeah, so we have a partnership team, a 7-person partnership team that's responsible on reaching out to businesses, communities, and seeing if there's an interest in bringing OnSpot on and having our services available. Um, and so, if you are interested in bringing OnSpot to your business or community, we have information on our website on someone you can call to schedule a day. But we're always looking for areas for us to go to. We work closely with Moffitt, where Moffitt is one of the best cancer hospitals in the state of Florida, really in the country. And they actually tell us as well some areas to go to that are underserved or businesses that need this, request this. Moffitt's located in Tampa and has been a great resource, and great resource too, where some of our patients have very serious melanomas or complex skin cancers that we would refer to when OnSpot can't handle that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's awesome to have a hospital system like that you guys work directly with. It gives kind of a reassurance that, if you can't take care of it, that there is someone you can refer them to that can.
Absolutely. And when you work with a great hospital like Moffitt, when we tell them, hey, we have a patient, diagnosis just came back, it's melanoma. I mean, they can book them, and they have booked them for that next day, that afternoon, that morning, so that the patient's in as quickly as possible. And that's how our medical director, Dr. Harrington, his first question, hey, what's your turnaround time when you're scheduling our patients? And Moffitt has delivered for us. They've been great.
How many providers do you guys have across the 7 trucks that you have?
We have 16 providers.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's a
16
lot of providers.
Yeah, it is. 16 providers. Dr. Harrington's our medical director, and our providers are trained by him. And we have PAs on staff, physician assistants, nurse practitioners, and then MDs all on staff to see our patients.
That's incredible.
That's awesome.
That's something a lot of practices have done to help improve with wait times and get people to be seen, is leveraging PAs and NPs to help with access of care. There's some states out there that put a lot of restrictions on PAs and NPs and how they practice, but in dermatology, they can help so much on lowering the wait times. And as Dr. Harrington says, PAs, a lot of them are highly capable on doing everything that a dermatology, the services that we offer in dermatology. So
yeah, I think that's really
amazing.
important. Yeah, I have a close friend who's a dermatology PA, and she said sometimes she gets, eyes raised at her going in instead of the doctor. And she's like, trust me, I've gone through really rigorous training to make sure I'm taking good care of you. So I think that's an important thing, is acknowledge that anyone who is in that room with you, like, yes, advocate for yourself, but also acknowledge that people are there to help. It's in their best interest to help you as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're very capable, very trained. What they do is impressive. My father actually, so this is pretty amazing story. He gets checked by OnSpot each year, and we found 2 melanomas on his chest. And they were melanoma in site 2. They were something that we didn't have to refer to a hospital. It was something that we could treat with an excision. And he was not treated by Dr. Harrington. He was actually treated by a PA on our staff. And I remember my father reaching out and saying, "Hey, between me and you, who's doing this? Like, who?" Yeah. I said, "Hey, anyone on our staff is more than capable in doing this. It doesn't have to be done by an MD. It can be done by a PA." And Amy Getz, one of our dermatology PAs, did the procedure for my father, and was incredible. And my father's melanoma free.
That's an incredible story. And that just speaks to the power of being able to say anyone on the team can take care of you. I mean, I feel like to be able to say that is not a lot of things that people can say, or you don't hear that very often.
Absolutely. I mean, what's a better measurement on how comfortable I am with my staff seeing our patients than them seeing my family. And my grandfather gets checked. He lives over in Bonita Springs, Florida, and gets checked by one of our PAs, and he's gotten Mohs surgery as well.
Okay.
We have detected skin cancer from him, and he's in good hands. So yeah.
It seems like there's quite a few family members potentially on staff as well. From a search on the website, I saw quite a few similar last names.
There's a lot of hunts involved. We a lot of people ask that, are we a family business? I have 3 siblings that are involved in the business. My father's involved in the business, but my mom actually runs our social media page. So that was a nice compliment on how you guys were able to find us, and that shows she's doing a great job.
Yes.
It's fun. A lot of people ask me about what it's like working in a business with family, and it can be difficult, but honestly, we have a lot of fun doing it, and especially with what we're doing, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are on a very similar mission, and it's something that, skin cancer is no joke, and it's something that's not always fun, and it's difficult, and it's kind of heartbreaking. And we always talk about sometimes families don't fully get it. So to have a family that fully gets it is something that's a little bit rare.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been fun.
Well, Don, thank you so much for your time. And for anyone listening, we want to make sure they know where to find you and OnSpot Dermatology if they want to connect. So can you give a little shout out for where to connect with you all?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a social media page on Facebook, Instagram. We're on LinkedIn. We have a TikTok where our staff helps build videos for us on TikTok. We always like to show off our mobile clinics on TikTok, so there's some great videos there. But we have our website, www.onspotdermatology.com. My email address, if anyone's interested in learning about our practice, is Don, D-O-N, at onspotdermatology.com. And happy to talk to anyone, as we do have 5 more clinics on the way
Wow.
that are being built. So we're trying to figure out areas where we send that to. And one is actually coming in August. We're sending it to the Pinellas-Pasco area, Pinellas-Pasco County in Florida, which is where Clearwater and St. Petersburg is. But we're growing fast and love to connect with anyone that can help us with our mission.
Wow, 5 more on the way. So that's crazy. And, all of this information we'll include in the show notes so that people can easily find you guys. But Don, thank you so much again for your time. And we're excited to see how you all continue to grow in the work that you do in the future.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's nice talking to you guys.